Well, what a festival of racing it has been here in Melbourne so far, and this Saturday, Tab Australian Cup Day, is the crescendo, the finale for the racing spectacular here at Flemington. What a race day we have in store. It's great to be joined by Gator. What do you make of the racing that we have here at headquarters this Saturday?
Well, firstly, great to be working with six-time Group 1 winner Dr. Grace again. This is a real treat. But no, it has been a wonderful carnival, hasn't it? And some elite racing. And seeing the likes of Pride of Jenny turn into a Might and Power and Vogue, it's really added another dimension to it. So culminates Saturday, as you say, and we need to find some winners.
The Australian Cup has got such an amazing history, doesn't it? First run in 1863, can you believe it, here at Flemington. So if you take a look back at the honour roll of some of the horses that have won this race, it has almost been reserved for champions over the many, many years. I feel like this year's edition is a very good one.
Yeah, good call. And turning to Bruce McAvaney over here, but as you say, reserved for the elite. And we talk about the Let's Elopes, the Vogues, better loosen up. I'm showing my age here a bit, but as you say, it's an elite race, and I think this year's a really strong rendition. I think last year Cascadian won it, and he won it in terrific style, but he'll be a bit wider in the market this year, won't he?
He definitely will be. He won it easily, really. He was quite unlucky last year, but this year we've just got so many horses that are absolutely airborne, coming from different form lines, ready to clash here. You've got a Kiwi mare in Gator who is absolutely in scintillating form back in New Zealand. And then Pride of Jenny. So if we talk about some of those horses in the Australian Cup being from the All-Star Mile, Pride of Jenny, what did you make of that win that day? Did it take your breath away in a sense?
Yeah, well, it did. I mean, as I said, the echoes of sort of the likes of Might and Power and Vogue just came flooding back, and these are elites of the Australian turf. It is so rare to see an equine athlete sustain that sort of speed. So the question mark for her is clearly, can she do it at 2,000 metres? I mean, she has been at the trip once before, but I just think she's a different horse now. She led at a strong speed in Sydney that day where she was beat. She was 8 lengths in front on the turn and knocked up. So it'd be fascinating. And she adds that dimension to the race. You know you're going to get a truly run race, and that tends to advantage the best athlete.
What do you think? I mean, it's been great to see Declan as well being able to come and show what he can do on the biggest stage of all, time after time. Like, he's rating Pride of Jenny absolutely to perfection. What does he need to do to win the Australian Cup on Saturday?
Yeah, look, I don't think I'll be telling Declan Bates what to do on her, but it's interesting, is that rapport. The animal and equine athlete and human is a big factor, and he seems to be in great rhythm with her, and she just rolled along, and the section was back up what you saw to the eye. She wasn't loafing, she just kept running, and look, she was probably holding Mr. Brightside on the line, so it will be an intriguing race. The market's duelling with them, I can see that at Tab.
So Mr. Brightside was the one who was the short price favourite in the All-Star Mile. Everybody sort of expected Mr. Brightside to be able to get past Pride of Jenny late, but that didn't happen. And you're right, she was, a very dominant winner, 2 lengths ultimately. Cascadian was tracking Mr. Brightside everywhere he went. He, like Mr. B, now 4th up, 2,000 metres, ready to peak again. Can either of those two, in your opinion, turn the tables now?
Well, they clearly can at the 2,000 metres. I think that's the thing. So if Pride of Jenny doesn't run the trip, simple as that, they'll run by her because they're too good not to. It's interesting with Cascade, and he's never beaten Mr. Brightside home, has he? So he just seems to have real trouble doing that. So it's tough to tip him as a rising 10-year-old, but he'll race really honestly. We know Mr. Brightside will probably settle closer. That's been the talk of the town. Whether or not that's the factor that wins or loses in the race, I disagree with that, for what it's worth. I think what it'll come down to is simply whether Pride of Jenny can sustain her gallop for the full 2,000 metres.
It's a fascinating one, because the way that I'm seeing this race being run and won is that it's really going to favour and lend itself to a horse that's pure stamina. Yeah. Ultimately, it's going to be a real staying contest. And there's a couple of horses that I think really do fall into that category. One of those is a Tissue. Now, she's by Savabeel. She's a 6-year-old mare. She's still sort of just furnishing now. We're seeing the best of her. She's already a dual Group 1 winner. She won the Champions Stakes here at this track and distance last spring. I think she's going to absolutely relish the hot tempo up front. She's going to be very strong late. And I tell you what, Gator, there's one thing that I was really impressed by Blake Shin's ride on her last start to win the Blamey Stakes, is that she began really well and she held a position. Like, there was a lot of intent to have her closer in the run. And if she can do that and be midfield not too far back, I think she's got a great winning chance.
No, I agree. I mean, she's very easy to make a case for. I mean, she was enormous out here. Cup week, wasn't she, behind Pride of Jenny? Yeah. You know, the track was favouring on-speed runners. Pride of Jenny kept running, as she does now. but Tissue stormed home. She was one of the runs of the day and then came out and won the next week, as you say. So if she's stronger at 2,000 than Pride of Jenny, she's a winning hope as well. And she's probably my best value play in the race.
Vow and Declare, interesting runner in this race. You look at the form, you're like, okay, second up is a little bit of a gap between runs, might need it. But if you go back and look at what he did in the spring, I feel like this is actually a plan in itself to be here second up, because he ran a monster race in the Underwoods, in the Might and Power Stakes, 2,000 metres second up in the spring. Wasn't beaten far in a fast run race behind Alligator Blood. So I think he's a smoky in the race as well.
No, I agree. I think you can make a case for him, and even Young Bird of the stablemate, of course, as well. Whether or not they're in front at the end of the race is going to be the query, but you can easily make a good case for them. Certainly the form lines around those horses, Alligator Blood, ties in strongly. So, look, Danny's got his two flying, and as I say, at least for exotics, you can make cases for them.
Let's talk about the speed map, because this is going to be key, and it's something everybody's going to be talking about over the next couple of days. How do you see it unfolding?
Yeah, look, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think if Pride of Jenny can lead an All-Star Mile field over 1,600 at some 23 lengths above average, when she led and faded in Sydney, she was still 17 lengths above. But I think she's a different horse now. So she looks the leader. Young Werther went forward and impressed last time. We know Mr. Brightside will be handy as well. You've touched on the Tissue. I think they're all going to find their spots in behind, but I think there's only one leader in the race.
Well, can she lead for 2,000 metres here at Flemington, which is, you know, one of the best race courses in the world? It's a fair racetrack, but she's got a great affinity with this place in itself. Do you think the Pride of Jenny is the winner of the race?
Look, I'm going to tip her, but I get a lot wrong, so there's that. But look, I think she was so strong at the end of 1,600, and it's not as if she's a brilliant 1,200 metre horse. They're the horses that I find when they get to 2,000, it stretches them. She's really 14 good, 16 elite, 2,000 question mark. So she's in that window, I think. But as I say, we get a bit wrong, but I'm happy to back her and tip her, and if we get it wrong, we learn something.
Well, Gator, with great difficulty, I'm siding with Mr. Brightside. Yes, there's probably an element of my heart in that as well, but I genuinely would not be shocked if any of the horses that we have discussed do win the race, because for different reasons they're going to be suited. You know, I think it's going to really be the case of the best horse on the day does win, and I am starting to think that it is going to be the best stamina horse ultimately, which then makes me feel like a Tissue might have that right platform where she's still fresh enough to run a really bold race and stick on very strongly at the end of the 2,000 metres, a hot, fast, high-pressure 2,000 metres. So I'm thinking it's a very tricky, Gator, but I'm with Mr. Brightside and a Tissue in this year's TAB Australian Cup.
I wouldn't talk you out of those two, and punters in a number of horses, as you see, we can make a case for. It's one of the best Australian Cups I've seen for a while.
It's going to be fascinating. Cannot wait to be here at headquarters on Saturday afternoon, where we will see who takes out this year's edition of the TAB Australian Cup.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.